Since I've tried my first Durgod keyboard, I've been a fan. They make some of the best pre-built mechanical keyboards, especially their stock stabilizers. They're always well lubed out of the box. Today, we're taking a look at a not yet released keyboard by Durgod, the Fusion. This model has a retro aesthetic and a bunch of hidden features, so let's not waste any more time and take a look at what this keyboard has to offer. The keyboard comes in a white box, although I'm pretty sure that's because it's a pre-production unit, as Durgod usually provides boxes with nice branding. In it, there's a small coaster made from a mousepad material, then the keyboard itself under a plastic dust cover, a wire keycaps puller, a short USB-C to USB-C cable, and a longer USB-C to USB-A cable. The goal with these cables would be to use the Type-C to Type-C one with a laptop, while the other regular one for a desktop. Now looking at the keyboard, it has a retro look. It's mostly made out of plastic with an orange, gray, and beige theme. It's fairly lightweight at 1.35 pounds or a little over 600 grams. There are two other color variants of this keyboard, one looking like the NES console theme and the other being blue, orange, and beige. I have to say, I prefer these two other color combos, although the unit I have isn't terrible either. At the top of the case, you get an on-off switch to use it wired and wireless. There are three LED lights. When using it wired, there are one for caps lock, one for the configuration file indicator, and then one for the battery status. When using the keyboard wirelessly, these lights will correspond to the current wireless channel being used. As for the configuration file indicator, I took that name straight from the user guide, but I'm not too sure what it's for. Seems like it's meant to store a configuration file on board and use it. I guess it might be useful if the keyboard becomes configurable with a software at some point. The dedicated web page mentions a DEZ software, which stands for the existing Durgod Venus Engine software, but it doesn't seem to recognize the Fusion yet. At the left, there is a secret magnetic door disguised as the logo. It's used to store the USB dongle, where there is a push mechanism paired with magnets to make sure the dongle doesn't fall on its own. A very nice touch, and it's well executed. Then at the back, there's a USB-C port where the top and bottom parts of the case meet. And finally, under the keyboard, there are 6 rubber pads for maximal grip. It doesn't move around easily. There are also 2 flip-out feet, both of which feel super solid, and they also have thick rubber pads under them. Now looking at the keycaps, this keyboard has a standard 65% layout. Everything is NC standard, apart from the bottom right modifiers that are 1 unit wide instead of 1.25, and the right shift key is also 1 unit narrower than usual. Other concerns are the navigation keys at the rightmost column. If you buy a replacement keycap set with a sculptured profile, the right keys might not match the profile of the row they're assigned to. However, I don't believe you should replace the keycaps on this keyboard, as they match the case perfectly and they are very good. They feature a cherry profile and are made from PBT. The legends are double shot and close-shaped characters don't have slits either. Secondary functions are die sublimated at the front. They are not the thickest keycaps at around 1mm, I believe, but overall the quality is excellent, and on their own, these keycaps could sell at a premium price. In terms of switches, this keyboard is only offered with cherry switches at the moment. There's the typical blue, red, brown, and black variants, but also speed silvers, silent blacks, and silent reds. My unit came with cherry browns, and they have black housings. Given that this keyboard doesn't have any LED lights, it doesn't really matter. This keyboard is not hot swappable, so you can't expect to easily upgrade switches down the line to something else. And as for the stabilizers, these are some of the best I've tried on pre-built keyboards. That's standard on all Durgod keyboards. They have really good stock stabilizers with a decent factory lubing. I noticed that the keyboard had a bit of ping in some cases, maybe due to the metal plate, so I decided to open the case and try to add foam to see if it would improve the overall sound of this keyboard. I tried only removing the keycaps needed to remove the screws holding the plate, but the plate wasn't coming off, so I thought I was maybe missing some. So I ended up removing all keycaps to find out I had already located all screws. Turns out there are 3 additional screws at the bottom of the case near the top under the rubber pads. If you remove these a bunch of times, you might need to replace the double-sided tape. After that, it was just a matter of prying the top part of the case open. And a couple of things to notice, the battery is very small. It doesn't mention the capacity, but I would guess it's less than 2000 mAh. It's glued at the bottom of the case, and the connector is hot glued to the PCB. There is a dedicated antenna connecting to a metal piece at the top of the case. It probably helps to get a better signal. We can also see the mechanism that stores the USB dongle inside the case. Finally, the solder joints look good, and it seems like the PCB would support single color LEDs to be soldered in. So I went ahead and added a sheet of neoprene to the bottom of the case to improve the sound of the keyboard. I simply cut a sheet with approximately the right size, and then I cut around all the bumps and standoffs. It wasn't perfect, but I was satisfied with how I applied it. This foam works in multiple ways. It adds a bit of mass to the case, but it also fills the air gap inside the case, and I'm pretty sure the PCB now sits on it at some places, so it probably helps to reduce the vibrations that can occur when typing. Here's a sound comparison of before adding the foam and after. While the sound difference is not huge, I definitely hear an improvement. The keyboard is quieter overall, the sound is less high-pitched, and there's a good reduction in ping when stroking single keys with force. In terms of layer, given that this keyboard has dedicated arrow keys, it's quite light. These are not reprogrammable as of now. Maybe it will be once the DEZ software is updated to support this keyboard. You get a function row with the number row paired with the function key. The tilt key is function plus escape, and that's pretty standard. Then insert and end can be accessed with function plus delete and home. And as for connection options, you can switch to two preset Bluetooth devices with function plus Q and W. Then switch to the dedicated 2.4 GHz channel with the dongle with function plus E. And finally switch to the USB wired connection with function plus R as labeled on the side of the keys. Speaking of wireless connectivity, this keyboard supports Bluetooth 5.0, which should result in a good battery life overall. To pair the keyboard to a new device, you need to hold down the function plus Q or W combo, and then select it on your device, enter the pairing pin, and you're good to go. For some reason, the performance was not amazing on my MacBook, with some noticeable variable latency when typing at a decent speed. And I'm not a fast typer, so I think it wouldn't be suited for most people. However, on my iPhone, I didn't experience the same latency and it performed like a Bluetooth keyboard should. So I would definitely not recommend using the Bluetooth option for anything where latency could be a problem. Even for just general work stuff, the unpredictable lag was a bit frustrating. Again, it might be specific to my MacBook, which isn't the best for Bluetooth. As an example, my Amp Pro 2 won't even connect to it. The other wireless option is to use the 2.4 GHz USB dongle, and this one works very well. I was even able to play games with it with no noticeable delay. Usually the protocol has less overhead than Bluetooth, so it can be faster and more reliable, which is exactly the case here. So in conclusion, I really like this keyboard. The build quality and the keycaps are great. The layout is as standard as it can be for a 65% keyboard. The features are really nice, and I like that it has a dedicated 2.4 GHz channel with the dongle, making it a viable wireless option for casual gaming. In terms of downsides, I wish the Bluetooth performance was better on my Mac, although it might not be because of the keyboard itself. I also wish it was reprogrammable and had hot swap switch sockets. And finally, white LEDs would have been a nice touch. Reprogrammability and better Bluetooth support are things that might be improved with firmware updates later on, and when the DEZ software supports this keyboard. I'm not sure how much it will sell for on Kickstarter, but I believe that between 100 to 120 USD would be a great price. If it was hot swappable and reprogrammable, I would even see it reasonably priced at 150. So that wraps it up for today. Let me know what you think about this keyboard down below. Is there anything you'd change about it? As always, I'll have links to the Kickstarter when it's ready in the description. I'll also add links to the foam material I use if you want to perform a similar mod with your own keyboard. So thank you for watching, make sure to leave a like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, as I'll see you in a future video.